Welcome to the Coffee Snobs Podcast, where we just really love good coffee.
Grab your cup of coffee and join us each episode as we explore any and everything coffee related.
From pour-overs to lattes to the coffee experience, we explore it all. Because, well, life's too short to drink bad coffee. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Snobs Podcast. My name is Tyler. I'm here with my friend Aaron.
Hello, hello.
And we are recording this on almost the last day of the year, December the 30th. So it's the end of the year. We thought what more appropriate than to do a year-end review, like a recap show. So talk about some of the things we've learned since we started the podcast, things that we've learned about coffee and all that other good stuff. So anyway, Aaron, what did Santa Claus bring you for Christmas this year?
Well, my sister came in clutch. My sister lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and there is a coffee roaster in Chattanooga, Velo Coffee, and they do some really good stuff, like make some really good coffee. I've been to their shop multiple times, and she's come in and brought me multiple boxes. I got 2 boxes for my birthday in June, and they come in little boxes. And she got me a Central Costa Rica. I've got the box in front of me. It's a washed. It is from a harvest of April 2019. It tells you the size. It gives you the elevation. It gives. Let's see, first phase. I mean, it gives you
lots of details.
Oh, dude, a ton of details, which you know I love.
He's a nerd.
And so, I mean, it really goes into a lot of detail. It's one of the things that I like about Velo. In all of their roasts, they have a lot of details. So it's been really nice. But I also got a 1 to 3 cup little baby Chemex.
Is that like Baby Yoda?
It is like
Very poor joke there. No,
it is a cute little thing. When I make coffee, I don't make big batches. I make a lot of single serving stuff.
So wait a minute. So think about this for efficiency's sake. Rather than making like 10 pour over V60s a day, why not make a couple Baby Yoda 1 to 3 cups? But I guess it wouldn't stay warm for long, so I don't know.
That is the problem with this, which if anybody knits out there, I will send you the specifications, the size, and I would love a little knitted sweater for my baby Chemex. Preferably green.
With protruding ears.
With protruding ears. No, seriously, like that is the one flaw with this little Chemex. I don't think the glass is as thick as a larger one.
Okay.
Matter of fact, this one already has a defect, which I sent for a return and already got one in the mail today. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I took mine back to Kohl's and got a replacement today. So pretty excited about it. I think it'll fit me. It's got a bummer side of it. It takes the little hand filters where you have to fold them a certain way. So
okay.
that's a down bummer, but hey, like all for coffee, right?
Hey man, you're living the good life.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what about you?
Man, I must have been a good little boy this year. In my stocking, I had some Enderly. Gotta love Tony and the guys down there.
Oh yeah.
I had an Ethiopian natural process, and Enderly does a great job with their roasting. And I also got a bag from Merit Roasters out of San Antonio. And I think you had their stuff before.
Oh yeah, dude. When I was in San Antonio, I brought back 2 bags of Merit.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed. Was able to go to. I don't think it's one of their flagship locations, but it is one of their locations where they serve, and they do a really good job.
Yeah, so I got another blend from Merit, like a seasonal, almost like a holiday type blend that was also from Ethiopia. And this might sound odd, but the beans are like really small, smaller than
Heirloom beans.
Yeah, heirloom beans. Anyway, they're very good and tasty. So I got 2 bags of coffee, and one of my good friends gave me a Calita.
Ooh, a little flat bottom.
So for those of you that don't know, a Calita is a single serve pour over type vessel. It has a flat bottom, whereas like the typical V60 is more conical in shape, and it just has like a central
Of a V?
drip point.
It's more of a V style.
V.
Would some say a V60 is like a V?
And how ironic is that? Anyway, got a Calita and have made a few cups with that. So
Yeah, it's definitely it can definitely produce a different taste because of the way the water sits in the bed of coffee. So
yeah, having that
you'll
flat
enjoy
bottom,
that.
it's been interesting. Like it produces a little bit different taste than a V60. So
Yeah.
all righty.
Yeah.
Well, so on to today's topic. Aaron, as we conclude this year, we've had a pretty darn good year on the
Dude,
Coffee Snobs podcast.
We have.
I can't speak for you or Chad, who's not with us, but I have learned a lot about just podcasting in general, and even more so about coffee.
Oh yeah.
So let's take it back. We started this show in maybe June, sometime late spring, summer this year. And I feel like I've really learned a good bit. Hopefully you, the listener, share that sentiment. But Aaron, what's some highlights for you from the Coffee Snobs podcast in 2019?
Yeah, for the Coffee Snobs podcast, there's been a lot of highlights, but for me in coffee 2019, me specifically, has been we'll say a blooming year. I mean, like my coffee journey has just gone crazy, which super exciting. What's coming in 2020 is going to be really exciting. Like, we've lined up a few things, but taking it back to 19, I mean, we got to experience a lot of coffee from all across the United States. Got to experience some really good, like, variations and really kind of dial in what type of bean that I like. I really found out for me that Ethiopian, kind of no matter what, no matter the way the Ethiopian, I don't think you've got to really screw up a bag of Ethiopian for me to not to enjoy it. And so really have loved that. Have started to pick up the differences in the roast and kind of understand it. So the journey for me in the coffee has just been wild. Picked up a new machine this year. Sold my Breville.
An espresso machine.
Yeah, I got another espresso machine for the house. Picked up a Gaza Classic Pro. And that machine has been it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely fickle, which it's an Italian machine. And from what everyone has said, like, an Italian machine is great when it's great, and it is frustrating when it is frustrating. And so it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, just I'm looking through my Google Photos, and 2019, almost every I have almost 2,500 coffee photos this year.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
That's ridiculous.
Probably a few more than me, but
it's crazy. So, I mean, I've got to experience a lot of really good coffee. What about you, Tyler? Like, what's been some highlights for you, podcast related, non-podcast related? What's some things?
Yeah. Well, not to copy you, but I really kind of found out that I too probably prefer Ethiopian coffees the most, and I think perhaps because of the altitude that most of them are grown at, they typically have a more fruit forward profile, And that's just me personally. I like that more so than some of your earthy taste you might get from like a Central or South American bean. So I kind of learned that I prefer Ethiopian coffees. And I guess honestly, it was about the first of this year is when I really got serious about espresso, because I received my current machine, if I'm not mistaken, about Christmas time last year. So I kind of spent the first few months actually learning how to properly grind, the beans and froth milk and all that fun stuff. So by now it's just second nature. So Ethiopian coffee, having an espresso machine at home was good. And I've really learned a lot just from, Joe, our good friend Joe Strothman, coming on here about different brewing techniques that I did not really have a lot of experience with. And I'll say probably the fourth thing is I've just met some really cool people related to coffee. Some of the people in Kannapolis own coffee shops, Concord, Charlotte, lots of good people who have been really willing to share knowledge about coffee. So it's really opened up my eyes to what coffee can be and what it can do.
Yeah, so one of the large takeaways, or let's say started me down a
rabbit
coffee journey to kind of like understand the bean a little bit better, was back in July, Enderly had a 2 bags, 1 box series. So it was 2 bags of beans that came in 1 box from one farm, and it was from Costa Rica, and it was a honey washed and a natural processed, honey process and natural process, and where you could actually, it was from the same lot, from the same farm, just the bean was done 2 different ways, and you could really start to tell the difference between a natural process and another process. And so I really found out where I really enjoy a natural process. Like if like the perfect combination for me would be an Ethiopian natural or like even honeyed, because of the way that it ferments. Man, like
that's your jam.
Yeah, dude, it's my jam, and I would not have experienced that if Enderly, Tony, the guys at Enderly would have not done something like this, because it's hard. A lot of times you get a bag of beans, and unless you have something to compare it to, you don't know. Like, okay, honey, what's the difference in honey? Well, I'm gonna have to wait till I finish this bag of beans, or I've got to go find another bag of beans. Well, even if it's a Costa Rica from a different lot, it's going to have set longer. It maybe have roasted differently. So because Enderly did 1 box, 2 bags set, man, you could really start to tell the difference. And it really kind of put me on a journey of really diving into. I think we did a whole episode on the processes of coffee.
We did. One of our earlier episodes, I don't know, episode 4 or 5, something like that, we talked about some of the different processes, washed, natural, honey for getting the beans and different locations, stuff like that. So, like I said, all the coffee I've ever had from Enderly has been fantastic. I guess they'd probably do a few darker roasts, but they really seem to shine in the medium roast and light roast, which, again, just a personal preference, I prefer. But Enderly coffee has been some great stuff.
Yeah, there was another highlight this year related to coffee, and that was when I went to Minnesota. Dude.
When was that again? Remind us.
That was in June. So that was like, I think, very at the beginning, but we didn't even talk about that trip. But that was like the most epic coffee trip, because in one night, oh my gosh, I'm trying to look up the photos, but I hit up 6 different coffee shops within like I did Dogwood, Spy House, Playground. I think it was 5 Watt. And then there was 2 other ones we went to.
Never heard of those, but I'm sure they're all good.
Oh, dude, if you're in Minnesota, if we got any listeners in Minnesota, look.
We probably have a couple,
Dude, Spy House.
Nationwide.
Spy House is incredible. If you're in Charlotte, Spy House would be, think of like not just coffee, that roast coffee.
I think a little birdie's told me that Not Just might be experimenting with roasting, but
man, that would be exciting, wouldn't
That'd
it?
be cool. Yeah. So,
but Minnesota, I mean, I went to a coffee shop that was very unique. Tyler, they made like gourmet coffee drinks. It was almost like very dessertish. So same way like somebody would do a cocktail.
like a Starbucks.
No, like dude, like they were making like gourmet.
Almost like cocktails, but like
Yes.
high-end cocktails, but coffee-ish.
Yeah, so like
non-alcoholic.
black sea salt on the top to
Very snobbish sounding.
oh dude, and it was incredible.
Primo.
That
Cool.
that place that evening I got I think it was 9 different coffee beverages.
And how long did you stay awake with that much caffeine?
I had a flight that next day at 5 a.m. So I literally did not go to sleep. I got to my hotel, grabbed my bags, and just went to the airport and stayed up the entire night. It was a lot
All
of
in
fun.
the name of coffee and research. Gotta love your dedication, Beeb. So another thing I've really learned about coffee this year is as I've gotten even more into it, I've learned that a lot of people really don't care about coffee, and that's okay. I've kind of come to grips with that. Just because I like something, it's fine if other people don't quite share that level of it. Like we've mentioned before, I've got family members who they just have their coffee routine. They just want a large cup of hot bean water in the morning. They don't truly care what it tastes like. But on the other end, even though I feel like I would obviously call myself a coffee snob, there's people out there who dwarf me in knowledge. So I feel like
put
I'm
us to
kinda,
shame.
Yeah. So on the one hand, it's kind of cool because it, gives us a lot of goals as far as new stuff to learn, new people to meet for the coming year. So
Okay, so here's a few like cool places that that we've hit that we haven't yet had the opportunity to talk about. One of the places that we went to here recently was Knowledge Perk Coffee. I think
where was that?
I think it's in Rock Hill. Yeah, I think it's in Rock Hill. I'm not too familiar. It's over in South Carolina, but they roast their own coffee. Very, very cool setup. Like they will even roast a profile for you and craft a bean for you.
Wow.
It's a very, very cool place.
Is there like a minimum on that? That doesn't seem very economical for them.
They didn't say, but they've got from my conversation with them, they have multiple little roasters, like little roasting machines, and like it's a great setup. Yes,
Wow.
Micro roasters, but they also have a larger one. They even will allow you to dose your own pour over. So they have a pour over machine in the middle of the table, and it's a mod. I can't remember the brand, but I think it's called Bar Mod or Mod Bar. I think it's Mod Bar. And it's got a pour over head, and so essentially you put your cup underneath it, they put the coffee into a filter, you put it in the top, and like you make your own pour over.
Wow, that's
It's
interesting.
very, very cool. So you could work on, one of the cool things would be working on like maybe the water technique of how to put in the water to see if it's different. Like there's some really cool things because they have it dialed in. So they have the water extraction, water dispense dialed in. Very, very, very cool place. incredibly knowledgeable staff. That's the one thing that I will say that blew me away about Knowledge Perk was the amount of knowledge. Now, I don't even know if that's why they did it, the name, but it was impressive. It was impressive.
That ironic.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to go back soon, and I want you to go with me, Tyler.
Yeah, I think I remember you talking about that briefly, and that's, again, not to keep repeating myself, but one thing I really enjoyed this year was, meeting a lot of people who are passionate about coffee and just learning a lot from them. Was able to go to a lot of new locations I'd never been to before. So one thing I'd like to definitely continue for 2020 is to go and check out, obviously, local coffee shops. I don't seem to travel quite as much as you, but that's the goal, is just to go meet good people, learn what I can from them in the new year.
Yeah, so another place that was tops, I'm going to take it back to Minnesota because, I mean, we're a nationwide
I'm sure a lot
show.
of our listeners probably frequent Minnesota quite often, so this is
this
very
one goes out
pertinent.
to Tony. Tony, he's in Minnesota. He'll know who it is. So I went to this place, Annalase, and Annalase, I hope I'm saying it correct, but Annalase was the purest of coffee bars I have ever been to. Like, to their purest form of...
Like snooty, high end?
It was the most minimalistic coffee bar ever. Had an espresso machine, pour over, and I'm looking back at a photo right now because I'm
going to need you to post some of these photos in either our feed or your feed, your personal feed, because you've got a lot of good photos.
That night at Annalase, the guy behind the bar, super cool guy. I want to say his name was George. I remember him very well because he made us 4 different pour-overs, 4 different cups of coffee, and one was the first ever cold pour-over I've ever had.
A cold pour-over. How does that even work?
So it's ice in a cup.
Oh, so you're still brewing it hot, but it ends up being over ice?
Well, yes, and the way it's dosed is different. I'm not 100% knowledgeable on it. It's something that I want to try as the summertime comes back, but it allows you the ice is going to melt, and so instead of it being overwatered, it's properly balanced once the ice starts to melt.
So would you almost maybe make it probably too strong, knowing that it's going to be diluted as the ice melts?
That is the theory. But it was, dude, it was incredible. Like,
cool.
that one place, we got 4 drinks, had some incredible, they had Counterculture, which that was really, really, really
Shout
cool.
out to Durham.
Yep. They had George Howe, which is, George Howe's like snooty coffee. It's like...
That a dude or a roaster?
Yeah. Oh, dude. If you don't know who George Howe is in the coffee game, stop what you're doing, pause this podcast, and just go search it. He's like...
After you finish the podcast, I'll search it.
No, you'll come back. But it seriously, they had like very, very good coffee on hand. And so that was another one.
Cool.
Very tops.
So it sounds like a lot of your favorite coffee moments from this year were experience-based, meeting new people, going to new locations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily new locations. I just love going in and chatting with baristas that are passionate about their craft. It like the decor, and at one of our earlier episodes we talked about the decor, leather and wood, right? And yeah, maybe that helps to narrow down the location when you're looking on a googly map, but I mean, if the barista is knowledgeable and like willing to talk or willing to explain different roasts or willing to explain different drinks, that's a top level place for me. And so
absolutely.
a lot of my wins this year were just baristas that made the experience really good. So another tops this year was being at the grand opening of Shiloh's.
Oh yeah, that was one of our earlier episodes. You got
Yeah.
to go up to Kentucky, right?
Yeah, to Kentucky. So a good friend of mine and a family member started a coffee shop called Shiloh's, and I was able to document the grand opening, and they're serving like one of my favorite coffees, Sunnergrass. It's where I started drinking coffee, and dude, it was really, really cool. Got to be able to do a pour over episode with Joe.
Yep.
And
Unofficial member.
oh, dude, I think he's been on about as much as Chad.
Well, that's not a very high number to exceed, but yeah, I think you're correct. So
Yeah,
you
no-
went to Shiloh's.
Yeah, it was really like being there grand opening day, getting to talk with the Sunnergrass support staff as well as their social and marketing team. That was really, really cool. They were gracious enough to send me a multi-box summer like exclusive. Yeah, it was very, very, very good. Like,
Cool.
yeah, it was really cool.
I don't know why that reminded me, but I want to say it was in the spring. You and I actually went to Pure Intentions. That's a roaster in Charlotte that was having a latte art throwdown.
Oh yeah, dude.
And
Pour
that
Fest.
was really cool. I think they've done it for a couple years now, but there were a lot of local baristas in the Concord, Charlotte area who basically you just made latte art, and that was really cool. It's kind of seeing the community. A lot of the people knew each other. They worked at different shops, but they were all friendly. And like I said, it was just a cool experience. And
That's
made
where
me
we
feel-
found. That's where we heard about. Was it Queen City Grinds? That's the first time I ever heard of it. Because I think the top
Yeah.
3 winners were employees at Queen City Grinds at that time.
Yeah, I think the ultimate barista that won worked at Queen City, and maybe there's another person who worked at Not Just. But you know, getting out there, we learned about Queen City. Haven't been up there too much lately, but when the time or two I've been there, man, their stuff was really good.
Yeah, their stuff was really good. We actually, do you remember the time we ran 17 miles downtown Charlotte? We were only supposed to run 13. We ran to all of the Not Just Coffee locations, and we started at Queen City and ended up, and we
At Queen City.
we ended up at Queen City, and we decided to get a latte after like had no food on our belly, and decided to get a latte, caramel latte. My God, there
Probably not. Milk was
No.
a bad choice.
milk was a bad choice.
Yeah, that's a side story real quick. Aaron and I have ran a lot this year, and we had a nice 13-mile route to do a half marathon in Charlotte, running by all the Not Just Coffees. Well, I don't know, 10 miles in, somehow we made a wrong turn, and instead of running back toward uptown Charlotte, we were running away from it. And
We
end of
ran
the
2
story,
miles the wrong
we ran
direction.
17 miles, and it was hot and it sucked, but we finished, and then we had a big, nice, steaming hot cup of latte. It was very good.
It was
just
really
probably
good. It was just the
the
worst thing to
timing
drink.
Was not the best, but you live and you learn.
Okay,
So,
one more
Hit me with it.
coffee like eye-opening experience was Twin City Hive. It's in Winston-Salem.
Okay, so not Minnesota. the
Not
Twin
Minnesota.
Cities.
Nope.
Okay.
But Twin City Hive, the reason why I bring up Twin City Hive was for the experimental cold brew that I had. So this cold brew, the beans, when they were green beans, when they were non-roasted, were put in a bourbon barrel. So it was explained to me that green coffee beans are super absorbent. very, very absorbent, meaning that the flavor will transfer into the bean like super easy. So he was explaining that a lot of times some of the flavors that we get are not necessarily from the actual bean, but maybe
what it was stored in,
or what it was near. And so this gentleman was playing with a recipe of putting green coffee beans in a bourbon barrel, then roasting them, and then making a cold brew. And oh my God, that cold brew smelled like bourbon and even tasted like bourbon.
Did you get a buzz off of it? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it was a beehive, like
Bzzz.
Twin City Hive, but that was a terrible joke that didn't go very far. But it didn't. No, I did not get a buzz, but it packed a punch. It was really good. It was really good. So that's been quite a bit of stories that we have. One, we would love to hear some of your experiences of coffee in 2019. You can reach us at Instagram. You can reach us. You can comment on the show. You can leave a message. Seriously, we would love to hear it because a lot of what we do with coffee is just about the experience. It's about the conversations, about learning new things. I mean, we're currently experimenting with a pour-over recipe that I can't wait to share. We shared one just recently, but
It's a different one than your.
It is different, and it's
Okay.
weird. Like I'm still trying to figure it out. Someone shared it with me, and I've reached out to a lot of other knowledgeable coffee people to see if they can replicate what I've been told, and I can't wait to share what we come up with. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, we've got hopefully a lot of fun and interesting things planned for the new year. Hopefully in January we have perhaps a brewing demonstration of some sorts that we are going to try to make happen at a local coffee shop. We're going to be trying to interview people that are more knowledgeable than us about coffee, roasters, coffee shop owners, stuff like that. We're going to even try to get Chad Lingenfeld back on the podcast, but that's been a bear, but we still love Chad. We miss him.
We have a guest, Aaron Moxley. He is a regional finalist for the Manual Brew Championship, and he's going to be on here shortly. Very excited. We've tried to line it up for months now, but it's actually going to happen. So we're very, very excited about that.
Checks in the mail, buddy.
It is.
No, I'm just picking. Like I said, hopefully got a lot of good content, guys. If you have questions, comments, concerns, email us, hello@coffeesnobs.net. Send us a link in social media. The easiest way is probably Instagram, Coffee Snobs Podcast. Aaron, if they want to reach out, where can they find you?
AARONBEAVER. That's on Instagram. That's Aaron Beaver. What about you, Tyler?
I'm on the Twitter and Instagram, Ty Dancy, TYDANCY, and our silent partner, Chad Lingenfeld, on
all the social platforms.
All that good stuff. So again, guys, thank you for a great 2019. We got some good stuff coming for you in 2020, and we will catch you soon.
Adios.